Tábula de Spectre dá pra chegar longe, o Slave Driver já limpa muita coisa. Dá, mano. Dá pra fazer isso de tábula também. É que esse peito aqui dá mais life só. Hey guys, Speedoz here, and today I bring you a new video about a character which is a Necromancer, and the main objective here is to help you out if you're looking for a simple minion build to play, or doesn't have lots of currency to spend on a build, or doesn't really know on what to play but wants to progress through the end game quite easily. So this is the build for you, which in my opinion it is very helpful considering the low investment and the capacity of clearing all the end game content. Alright, so it is a Necromancer. We've reached level 90 for the Pantheon. I've got the Briny King and the Grufkull. For the Bandits, we've killed them all. Talking about the Ascendancy, first note is mindless aggression, plenty of movement speed, damage, attack and cast speed for your minions. Unnatural strength gives us +2 level of all minion skill gems, quite useful later on to the game. Commander of Darkness gives to the minions some attack, cast speed, increase the damage. Elemental resistances not only for your minions but also for ourselves, and 30% all elemental res is a lot. And last of all, Mistress of Sacrifice, which is very helpful because it gives some movement speed for us if we use Flash Offering, which I'll explain later on to the build. Okay, talking about the passive tree and the POB. You will see on the video description this POB, which I have some leveling section here. You can see you can separate through the leveling. So as soon as you level, you'll get the next tree and the next tree. And then also on the notes here, I have some suggestions on what leveling uniques you could use to level your build, and also what gems you could use also to progress through your leveling. Alright, so I hope this is very helpful for you. And talking about the jewels of the build, those are very simple, basic jewels, actually abyss jewels, and all of them have basically maximum life. Minions deal cold damage because it was cheaper to get, but it would be better if you can get minions deal physical damage. And also this one here, basically the same. This one has a little bit of dexterity because we will need lots of dexterity, which I will show you in a moment, or the possible ways on how to get the amount of dexterity that we need for this build. The only jewel that is a bit different, and it drops from the Sirus, or you can buy from the pavexile.com/trade, is a Thread of Hope, which is a variable radius varying from small to large, has only 3 possible outcomes, small, medium or large ring, and it has a drawback of minus elemental res, which varies from -10 to -20, but a necro build is very easy to get resistances, so you don't have to really worry about this one. The lower the resistance that you have, the more expensive it is to buy this jewel, so don't really worry about it. Just the radius is the most important thing here. So any node that is in this radius we can get without connecting to our main passive tree. So we get Cruel Preparation because it gives us some maximum life and elemental rest, and Ravenous Heart because it is very important for our build. But this is really one thing that you should really concern only when you're about reaching level 90 or almost level 90, so don't really worry about it at this time. Just focus on your leveling. So for your leveling, what we will be looking for is this word, Queen's Decree, which you can get at level 27. Very useful because it gives our minions some increased damage. Very interesting, some maximum life as well. But most importantly, the maximum number of raised zombie, raised spectre, and number of skeleton. This is very useful. I use this word until level 80 or level 75, 80. Until I switch to a wand, which I'll explain in a moment. Also, Skull Head, very useful, gives us some maximum life, mana, elemental rest, and some defensive layers for our minions. Tabula Rasa, very useful. Armor, you can use it until all the end game if you want. And also the Wanderlust, quite useful, cannot be frozen, some movement speed. Or you can just use a Bones of Urul, which gives us some movement speed and a level to all raised spectre and zombies. The amulet that I used for leveling as well, you can use it just right at the level 1, gives us some cold resistances, but also maximum life, movement speed, and damage to our minions. Quite useful. So how do you summon the Slave Driver Spectre? The Spectre I recommended for you to use on your leveling as a Necromancer. As soon as you reach Act 5, you'll see that the next map will be the Control Blocks, which is the instance where you'll be able to find the Slave Driver Spectre. So you just use Desecrate skill a couple times on the ground, switch to Raise Spectre, press the A button until you find a body called Slave Driver. As soon as you find one, just press the Raise Spectre skill and you'll be able to summon a Slave Driver for yourself. What you should have in mind is that if you have Spell Echo linked to your Raise Spectre skill gem, you should remove Spell Echo before summoning the Slave Driver. Otherwise, you'll be summoning two Spectres at the same time, and probably one of them will not be the Slave Driver, which is the desired Spectre for your build. So just have that in mind before summoning your Spectres. To summon the Redemption Sentry Spectres, you have two options here. Either you go to a very tenuous map and then hunt until you find a Redemption Sentry so you can summon for your build, or you can just ask another Necromancer who's playing the Redemption Sentry Spectre build and ask him to place a Desecrate on the ground so you can find the Redemption Sentry between the bodies on the ground. Imagine yourself losing the Redemption Sentry somehow by removing the Raise Spectre gem from your gear, or the Desecrate, or both of the cases. You just lost the Redemption Sentry and you want it again and don't have a Veritania's map. You can do and make a Redemption Sentry Spectre Bank. How do you do that? By creating a PvP character. Only increases the stats required so you can equip the Raise Spectre gem and then the Desecrate gem, because your character will be level 28 already. So you find a way to get the Redemption Sentry in the regular way with this PvP character. So you save the Redemption Sentry within the gem. So next time you just log into your PvP character, open a map so your hideout instance don't get lost. Just use Desecrate on the ground, make sure you find the Redemption Sentry right there, then re-log into your main character, and then next time you use Desecrate in your hideout, you'll be able to find Redemption Sentry between the bodies on the ground. For our weapon, I chose a Convoking Wand with at least +1 to level all minion skill gems or spell skill gems. Anything related to minions that you can get, that you can get on top of it is very useful as well. I got some minions deal increased damage, and you should have an open suffix to craft the trigger socket spell when you use this skill, which I'll explain you in a moment as well. To craft a one like this, you should be looking for a the best case scenario would be a item level 84 and use a bound fossil with a resonator with one socket. These two guys drop in Delve and you can use to craft this kind of wand. So you should be looking for at least +1 level all minion skill gems or +1 spell skill gems. It is more than enough to play this build. This helmet here it's a bone helmet with at least and preferably the highest level of selected minion gems. I got +2, but it can go up to +3. It's cheaper to have this one, and also with some maximum life, some resistance if you can, and I crafted dexterity because we need dexterity for this build. For the amulet, we chose a Jinx Juju. It is very useful at the end game because 10% of damage from hits is taken from our Spectre's life before us, and this is very, very useful as a defensive layer. For the anointment, we chose Death Attunement. You will be seeing in the passive tree in the POB, when you're leveling, we go all this way up until Death Attunement because we didn't have the anointment for it. But once you press the Alt button, you can see all the oils that you need to anoint your amulet and get this node without connecting the passive tree to this passive, to this notable skill. So all you have to do is go to the Sister Cassia, put your amulet here, and then you will see that 3 oils will appear, that 3 oil spots. So as soon as you put the desired oils, you can then anoint your amulet and it will get the allocates property. As soon as you equip your amulet, you will receive the benefit of Death Attunement. Okay, and Death Attunement, it is very useful because it increases our number of spectres for our build, which is a very, very damage boost. The ring, it is very cheap as well. It just has some resistances, some life, and some dexterity. The second ring is a profane proxy, which gives us some elemental resistances, but also increases the level of socked curse gems. It doesn't really matter on what ring slot you will put this ring, but the most important thing is that the gem here is a projectile weakness, which not only increases the damage from projectile hits the enemy's curse take, but also makes all of our projectiles pierce cursed enemies. This is basically a 7 link on a very cheap option. This ring cost us 3 chaos with these sort of resistances, and it's very, very useful to the build. The boots are a Bones of Uro, very cheap one, with probably, if you can, 15% increase in movement speed. I paid 1 chaos for this one. It is very good to increase the level of raised Spectre gems. The Stygian Vise is our belt with some maximum life and resistances too. As you hear, it is very similar to the others one that we have socked on our passive tree. Basically gives the minions some additional damage, preferably physical damage, and most importantly the plus to dexterity, which will help us have the projectile weakness curse here gem because it requires lots of dexterity. Last of all, the gloves here, Grip of the Council, very nice gloves if you have plenty of physical damage on our Gilos, because it basically gives the minions 20% of physical damage as extra cold damage. This is why you wanna aim for the physical damage on your Gilos. And the Bloodbond Bone Armor, because it was the cheapest option, cheapest upgrade regarding Tabula Rasa. Gives us some maximum life, gives the minions some life properties as well, some defensive layers such as dodge, and also gives us some regen, which is always welcome. Now talking about the gems. The gems here, mandatory position of Desecrate and Flesh Offering and Tempest Shield. Those 3 gems must be in our wand, because the wand has a trigger socket spell when we use a skill. This means that whenever you use a skill, could be Enduring Cry while walking, could be, I don't know, Carrion Golem, which is one of our minions, it procs the gems here. So Desecrate is very useful, so we can keep using Flash Offering and also have Tempest Shield. All those 3 gems being cast basically automatically while we walk and kill the enemies. Alright. Also we have Minion Life, Animate Guardian, Elemental Army, and Mid Shield. This 4 link is very important to make the Animate Guardian alive. If you don't know, the Animate Guardian is another minion which is a result of some sequence of equipments that you just throw on the ground, which you can see on your screen right now. And then after throwing them, you can use the Animate Guardian skill on each and every item that you threw, and then it will summon another minion which will serve as a buff to the minions that actually deal damage on your build. So you can see here this Animate Guardian, it is very useful, and also it gives us the benefit of applying exposure on hit thanks to the Elemental Army support gem. So this means that the enemies will have less cold resistances because the Redemption Sentry deals the main portion of damage in this build. Flame Dash, Portal, and Enduring Cry with Convocation on our boots. Convocation, it is very helpful to better position your minions. So you can notice that whenever you use Convocation, you will bring all the minions at once. This is also very helpful when you're fighting against bosses, and then you can just position all of your minions really close to the boss to deal a very nice portion of single target. On this far link we have Stormbrand, Summon Carrion Golem, Feeding Frenzy, and Culling Strike. This is very nice because Stormbrand, it's a lightning skill and helps us out with the Elemental Equilibrium property. Elemental Equilibrium, for those who don't know, works like this. For example, if we use a Stormbrand, which is a lightning skill, it will increase the enemy's lightning resistance by 25% and reduces the other elements, which are fire and cold, by 50%, which means a very, very tremendous damage boost to the build, considering that Redemption Sentry damage is cold based. It's also linked to Culling Strike, so whenever the enemy have 10% or lower, it will basically insta-killed with the Stormbrand. And also Stormbrand is useful to orient the minions direction when you're mapping and bossing. Summon Carrion Golem, it's a very, very good minion because it gives us additional physical damage for non-golem minions, which also applies for the Redemption Sentry Spectre, and also has Feeding Frenzy, which makes him more aggressive and gives the minions, the Redemption Sentry, Feeding Frenzy buff. Feeding Frenzy increases the damage also of the Redemption Sentry Spectre, so very, very useful. Another thing, last of all, it's Raise Spectre, Minion Damage, GMP, Elemental Focus, Elemental Damage with Attacks, and Death Mark. You can swap the GMP with the Vicious Projectile when you're bossing. It will increase your damage by a lot. And also Death Mark, you can Death Mark the boss or whenever you're mapping as well. You can use Death Mark and the Stormbrand to better orient your minions. You will see that it makes the play style a lot more comfortable if you use both of them, in my opinion. Okay, so how do you play this build basically? You need to have those minions. The first minion is Carrion Golem, very easy to summon. The other minion, whenever you log out or change your character, log in, I mean, you can use the Animate Guardian, just press this one. And also the Spectres. When you're gonna summon your Spectre, for example, you're gonna remove the Flash Offering and then position the Desecrate to any other green slot, so you can you don't complicate yourself with the trigger a sucked spell when you use a skill. Just use it on the ground and then again select with your A button pressed until you find a Redemption Sentry body, which in this case didn't work. So we summon again and then choose Raise Spectre, Now we found the Redemption Sentry. Alright, we have 4 Spectres at maximum. A better way to increase our damage in this build would be to buy a more expensive chest, which gives us +1 number of raised Spectres. But in this case, we are using only 4. So 4 Redemption Sentry, 1 Summon Carrion Golem, and another Animate Guardian. Very easy to play. You just walk with the Enduring Cry, proccing automatically, receiving tons of regen. Very useful for our survivability as well. And whenever you need, just press Convocation to bring your minions. And also, when you're fighting bosses, you can orientate your minions with the Stormbrand and also death marking the enemy, pressing the death mark button. So very easy to play, has some block. At the moment with the Flask Cup and the Tempest Shield, should have 59 and 29 block spell damage. You could be getting Glancing Blows if you want to have even more block attack and block spell damage, if you like the Glancing Blows property, which basically makes you take 50% of blocked hits. And overall speaking, I really, to be honest, I enjoyed this build because I thought it would be very helpful for those people who are starting to play Path Exile and are looking for a cheap way to progress through the end game. Spending 200 Chaos, which at the moment is 1.3 Exalts, and be able to clear Uber Elder and Cortex maps, for example, without flasks, is really insane if you compare it to other builds. Basically, it is impossible to the majority of the builds to do so. So very nice build. Clearly, Necromancer is OP as always, and a good option, good alternative if you're looking to play a build, very simple one to play, and want to progress through the end game quite easily. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Dá pra tancar, velho, os ataques dele. Suave até. Vem pra cá, tio. É. Why fun? What's the point? Hoje finaliza essa build? Sim, sim. Eu não vou fazer mais upgrades nela não, acho que tá bem budget e capaz de fazer o endgame. Eu quase não uso poção, mano. Na verdade dá até pra fazer a fight sem poção, imagina. O Enduring Cry tem regen o suficiente pra te dar sobrevivência.